Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, and I have an amazing guest, Jill Johnson. Jill, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dale.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you. We've known each other for a while, and you've really been a leader on things related to entrepreneurship and small and family businesses, and you're the CEO of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. And so first, how long have you been doing that?
Since 2002, so it's been a minute.
Wow. And so you really have made a difference with so many different family and small businesses. But I want to find out a little bit about you before we get going. So now, where were you born, and where did you go to high school, and where did you go to college?
So you're going back to the beginning.
The beginning, yes, the beginning of Jill Johnson.
Interestingly enough, this is sort of a fun fact, I was born in Iowa.
Oh.
My family is from the Midwest, born in Iowa. We moved to Michigan when my parents were doing their graduate work at Michigan State, and that was my introduction to Big Ten football. And then we moved to New Jersey, and my father was on faculty at the then College of Medicine and Dentistry. He went there upon completing his doctorate.
Oh wow! Well, I know your dad real well, obviously, and so one of the things I wrote this book called Intelligent Influence, and I realized we're all products of our influence. So I always find the origin stories to be fascinating. So all right, so you got there, you went to Harvard undergrad. Is that correct?
Yeah. And we lived in Piscataway, moved to Plainfield. I graduated from Plainfield High School.
Okay. And
then went to Harvard. Interesting experience. Met people from all over the world, of course. But it was during those formative years when I was in high school, working with my parents in their business, that really has shaped my outlook about small business and family-owned businesses.
And then what did you major in college?
Economics.
Economics. So me too. So economics, and then your first few jobs out. I want people to understand your path to what you're doing now. So your first few jobs after college. How did you get to this position?
Yeah, you know what, Dale? I haven't had that many jobs, actually.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Out of college. So, I worked with my parents. My dad, interestingly enough, didn't really believe in working so much, but I guess that's because he wanted to preserve my time for working with their business. So the only job I had before graduating was with my parents' business. They had a newspaper publishing business for about 20 years. I did a summer internship between my junior and senior year through the SEO program, and I worked at Goldman Sachs as a financial analyst intern. And then I returned to Goldman Sachs in their financial analyst program in mergers and acquisitions in New York. When I graduated, I did 2 years in New York and then actually a year in corporate finance in Chicago. From there, I actually, it was a great experience, but I did not really see a career path for myself there. I went back to work with my parents running a magazine that they had launched called Yes, Youth Excited About Success, which was an amazing experience. So it really put me knee deep in education. After that, I was writing business plans for .coms that were raising money during the .com bubble. And that was really kind of what immediately preceded the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. I did some other consulting work, but yeah, that was right before the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, as I started thinking about where do people go who need support, who want to get their business to that next level, who want to try to grow a business to scale. Where do they go if you're not really part of those networks where people do that, regularly?
And it's you firsthand had a chance to really see the successes and the challenges of entrepreneurship. And I always like to pay tribute, this is a family business show, to really families. And so your dad started City News and had a program called the 100 Most Influential in New Jersey, which we need back, really, where he listed the 100 most influential.
It was an amazing event.
Yeah, it was an amazing event. I was able to make the second class. So I've loved him ever since I made that, and I was, a young guy coming through this, and so you've seen that side of entrepreneurship from your family business, and so you've carried it on. As you go through this process, you've been doing it for such a long time. Are things the same, or are they changing with some of the challenges that family and small businesses are facing?
Yeah, and let me point out, the nature of the family business was seeing my parents together and the dynamic of them working together in this business. So, it was not even just a family in the sense of me working with one of my parents. It was working with both of my parents. At a couple of different points, we had cousins even that worked in the business as well. My sister and brother worked at different points in the business. So, we got to grow up hearing about cash flow challenges and hearing about, needing capital and hearing about employee issues. So this has been in my blood for a long time. So just having that deep understanding of the challenges that small business owners have, like from a very real, practical standpoint, not just kind of what you see on the outside, the nice parts of having a business and being your own boss, but the challenges from the inside and the impact that it had on our family.
So we were talking about your family business, your parents' business, and I was saying how public officials haven't really understood how important family, small, independent businesses are to the economy until the pandemic showed that they are the employers because there's so much unemployment. But one of the things, Jill, that really impressed me about your family is not only did you have the City News and the 100 Most Influential, yeah, it was a great business, but you were among the most influential, certainly black business leaders in the state of New Jersey. And so talk to me a little more about that. You were saying about your mom and your dad working very, very hard at this.
Yeah, my parents had access to just about anybody, every politician, right, who was running, who wanted to get reelected would always talk to my parents because they were the press. They controlled, the voice that went out. Remember, this was pre-days of social media. Yeah, so people were still getting their information from the newspaper. And while they were a Black-owned paper and the paper focused on the good things that were going on in urban communities, their network was vast and they were respected by business leaders across the board. And Dale, at that City News 100 Most Influential event, you had everybody there, the corporate CEOs, the politicians, everyone. So just having that level of access was so important. And I know that I come from a certain place of privilege in being exposed to that level of access, even at such a young age.
And I still have, the pictures of all the second class of the 100 Most Influential on my walls. And I
go to people's offices and I still see that, and that's just so fun. The thing though that for me is sad in a way, and that it eventually led to, again, the creation of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, is the fact that my parents worked so hard, especially my mom, who was on the production side. So, that weekly grind was a lot. And after 20 years, when they decided that, it's time to take a break from this and take a step back, they were not able to extract the value that they had created in that business over 20 years. They had not been able, they were not able to extract the value from, again, all of those, that vast network. And so they ended up just essentially shutting the business down because they hadn't thought of the succession planning and what was next and all of that. And so to me, that is the unfortunate part. I think that I learned so much, and that is what has shaped my views of small business today, certainly. But it certainly would have been nice had they figured out how to extract the value, because that is then what creates that intergenerational wealth transfer, the trust funds, all of that type of thing that too often Black and brown business owners are just not able to do.
Very, very well said. And obviously we both work with a lot of businesses. understanding the real value of your business is one of the major shortfalls that these businesses have, because they're working and they realize the value are the people who are running the business, but not the separate business. So I know, and we'll get a little more into that, I know that's what you do, helping a lot of the business do that. So again, I just want to just thank you and the Johnson family. You know, it's one of those legendary stories of New Jersey. And just want to honor that on this show, that they meant a lot to me. And in fact, I was a certified financial planner, and I wrote a financial planning column for City News. And I was so proud to see that I had my regular column in there, again, as a young guy. So I owe them more than, you know, and than I often talk about. So, all right, let's talk about that. So you started the business, you're working with all ranges of entrepreneurs. Where is your business focused right now?
Yeah, so we are a nonprofit, and it's interesting. Whenever I hear someone refer to it as my business, I don't think of it as that. I run it. Of course, a nonprofit is in the public domain, essentially. And it is one of the reasons that I often will discourage people who tell me they want to start nonprofits, because I do believe really at the heart of things, you know, with my economics background, that people should be working in a way that creates wealth, where they're adding value, they are creating something, they're adding value to the community, to the larger society. They are good, you know, corporate citizens, and they're reaping the reward from that. That is what makes people work really hard and do what they do, so that they are benefiting from the fruits of that labor.
So this is the $1,000,000 question: is not everybody has the entrepreneurial mindset. Not everybody's fit to be an entrepreneur. Some people are fit to be number two, and some people are fit to just work. And so do you have a formula in identifying if someone has the right stuff, what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to be successful?
Yeah. Now, while I just said that I don't consider, you know, what I do a business, I certainly have the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
cannot operate in any other way, because that is how I grew up, right? That you create value.
Right.
And so I think that there are people who have an entrepreneurial mindset. I think that is different from even someone being a small business owner.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, the person who is a small business owner and has that mindset really thinks of their business as self-employment, that they're working essentially for themselves.
But, Jill, let me stop you there, because that's a great point. We're going to take a break for commercials and come back, because I think that's really the difference between a small business and entrepreneur. I want you to restate that when we come back. That's very, very powerful.
Why buy local? When you shop with local businesses, you're spending your money on more than just the item you're buying. You're adding a building block to your neighborhood. It starts with a single purchase, maybe a cup of coffee, groceries from a local co-op, or even a shiny new bicycle from one of the nearly 28 million small businesses nationwide. Your money doesn't stay in the till for long, though. Local business owners use the money to create a lot of economic activity in your neighborhood, like buying from suppliers, many of whom are also local businesses, paying taxes to the city, which builds and maintains the infrastructure we all rely on, employing local workers, contributing to 65% of the net new jobs each year. Add this all together and you've got a recipe for a happier, healthier, more connected neighborhood. Now that's an investment worth making.
I am your personal networking concierge, and I host a show on RVN TV called...
Welcome back to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, with Jill Johnson, who was making a point just before the break about the difference between entrepreneurship and being a small business leader. Jill, you want to pick that up where you were saying a small business leader is what?
Sure. Someone who is a small business owner really focuses on self-employment, that business is their means to income, to survival, and hopefully a good lifestyle. But they're focused on essentially the here and now and running their business. A person who is an entrepreneur and that entrepreneurial mindset, it is all about value creation. How do you solve a need for a particular audience that is very large? How do you meet that demand in a way that's efficient and in a way that is scalable so that you can extract wealth extract value, creating wealth for yourself and any shareholders. So it's just a different mindset. Which, Dale, is why I think that there has been so much difficulty in figuring out how to help small businesses, because we put everyone kind of in this bucket of small businesses. But I think a lot of people don't realize that this pandemic and this expectation that you're going to go from doing things the way that you've done them for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden switch and pivot and do something differently. It's just not that easy for a lot of these small business owners because, again, it has been their job day to day. It's easier for someone with an entrepreneurial mindset because you're used to pivoting all the time to figure out how to get to your end destination. But for your regular, everyday small business owner, that's been really tough for a lot of people.
Let me ask you this. Can someone change their mindset? Can you go from a comfortable small business owner to an entrepreneur?
Absolutely, Dale. And I've seen it happen.
Yep,
I think for a good number of people, it just hasn't been introduced. They've had the small business mindset because that's what they know.
Yep.
Start a business and it is essentially your means to an end. With my parents, that was their mindset. They didn't have people around them talking about scaling the business and acquiring other newspapers in other regions and growing that way, and creating and benefiting from these economies of scale. And that just, again, wasn't part of their thinking, mostly because I think they didn't know. And so, yes, I believe that you can introduce a small business owner to a different way of thinking, and they can create a vision for themselves. And there we've seen it. So I know that it can happen because we have entrepreneurs that are part of our network that, again, started with, whatever it was they were doing, but then were able to see a larger vision, after having that exposure.
Very well said. And I agree totally. I think that the mindset can change for those that are willing to change. Not everybody's willing to change, and they have been comfortable doing things one way as opposed to another, and so.
Well, and it's hard.
It's hard. It's not easy.
It's hard. So
it's not easy.
It's one thing running, your individual shop somewhere, but then to think about having 10 of those shops and then 100 shops, and for a lot of people, Dale, just even the thought of employees, moving to having more employees, they think of it as a burden, a headache, rather than this is how they will be able to scale their business once the business is no longer dependent on them. So it is absolutely all about mindset, but that mindset can be developed through exposure.
Well, we have, and I work obviously a lot with a lot of family businesses. One of the challenges with family businesses is that the founder has the entrepreneurial mindset, is growth, and then they pass it on to the daughter or the son or the nephew, and they have a very different mindset. And so that's one of the reasons businesses don't, transfer from generation to generation to generation. Have you seen some of that where the leader is an entrepreneur and the next in line is not?
Yeah, Dale, I have to tell you, I've actually seen it more in the reverse.
Oh, interesting.
Where the founder started it because it was their passion, what they do day to day. They had a particular skill set, so they started this. And then you have the next generation who says, hey, we can grow this and we can do this. And they're putting together spreadsheets and, getting technology and all these things. And the person who started saying, oh, wait a minute, I don't know about that. And to them, it seems scary because for them, it initially was it was their passion, or it was just a skill. And they were using that skill for income. So, the other way around can be also a challenge, because you have someone then, the person who doesn't own it, the other family member, let's say, who's trying to push and trying to expand that vision. And if the person who started the business, that founder, is not willing to loosen the control and actually cede control and responsibility and let that business grow with the next generation, that's where you can actually get friction.
Absolutely. And when you start looking at a lot of the issues that family businesses in particular are facing, I'm finding that we see all sorts of conflict and other things and perspectives. But one of the challenges is that so many of the founders, the business is their life, and they want to die with the business. I know people in their 90s that really should move on, but they won't let go, and they want to keep the status quo, and that's hindering the business, and they don't realize that they are the value in the business. And so I work a lot with that. I'm sure you've seen that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for any business owner or entrepreneur, your personal identity is so tied to that business. And I know people who have been wildly successful, and they've exited from their business. They've sold their business, for a good amount of money. And they have communicated that they have struggled with not having their business be their, tied to their identity any longer. So I think that for a lot of folks that start a business and then it becomes a family business because they have different members of the family working with them, it even becomes the identity of the family. And every time you're together, you're talking about business. So everything is wrapped up in the business. So if you don't have that business any longer, what do you have? And that's what many of them think. They spend so much time working. They don't want to do anything else, no hobbies, no anything else. It is just about the business. And that certainly has its challenges and its downsides.
Well, let's talk about the total opposite. So what we're seeing is a lot of young people who have no interest in passing anything on. They want to start something. They don't care if it makes money. We're going to have Google buy my business when it's scaled and do that. Talk about what you're seeing around the mentality of a lot of young people who want to be entrepreneurs and then just sell as quickly as they can.
Yeah, and I think that there are two sides of that. I think that there are a lot of young people who have grown up in this world of work-life balance and not stressing yourself out too much and don't push yourself too much. There's benefit to that. I got to tell you, Dale, I didn't grow up in that world. And, it was work all the time. And there's a certain amount of that drive and hustle and dedication that it takes. And so if you think that you're going to be an entrepreneur and have all of this balance in your life and sell your company, good luck. I'd like to see more examples of that. And then I'll really believe that it is so. But I think that there is another school of thought that also says, I am willing to work hard, really hard, for a period of time to achieve a goal. And my goal is not simply just income. I'm willing to not have money, to live in a smaller place, to drive used cars, and to live a really modest lifestyle because I'm building this business that one day I will have that potential to extract the value from it. And I think that is the mindset and the spirit that has become possible because we've seen more examples of it. And I think that, again, that goes back to the exposure that we were talking about just a minute ago, that as more people are exposed to that possibility, it becomes it becomes a vision for more people to actually do that. And I mean, it's fun to see. It's fun to see. I think, though, that people who are on that path do have to be careful of becoming so integrally inextricably tied to their business, just from the sense of their identity.
Right.
You build a business in that way, it's working, that's great. If it's not working, you know what? Move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well said. And I'm hearing a lot of the politicians talking about, well, this is, we need to be in an innovation economy. We need to really do better with technology and make sure it's broader and more communities reach it. But you really hear on the news and other things that the only entrepreneurs that really matter are the ones that can start a tech business and get financing and venture capital and seed funding and all that. Talk to me about the realities of that and the realities of the need for folks who do average businesses.
So Dale, when you think of a vibrant community, what do you mostly think of? What comes to mind with that? It's the coffee shops,
right.
It's the bars, the restaurants,
right.
Walking down the street in a community, and there's this vibrancy, and there are stores that are open where you can go down and get whatever knickknacks and cooking things and all those things right there in your community. The tech companies are great, and we need those for a whole host of reasons. However, we have to remember that a lot of the people that work in those tech companies, where is it that they're going to hang out, and where is it that they are getting the inspiration and having a place to go and talk with people and things like that. In many places, it was in, again, coffee shops and bars and restaurants. Mm-hmm. And so I think we have to remember that the entrepreneurial ecosystem needs both. It needs the tech companies that drive, the big numbers in wealth and all of that. But we need regular types of businesses that create amazing, great, strong communities. And it's those businesses that create the jobs for young people, right? For the high school kids that need to just learn how to work, period. It creates the jobs for seniors who are retired and they just want to do something to get out. It creates the places and the spaces where we can all go and be together. And once that is possible, again, we need those businesses to still be there. And so that's why it is just so critical that we not just focus on the tech companies and VC and that world, but we have to focus on regular types of small businesses and the capital and the resources that they need to be able to thrive.
And that's a perfect segue for, I guess I'll make the public announcement that Governor Murphy, New Jersey Governor Murphy, and Tim Sullivan, the CEO of the Economic Development Authority, had approved and actually put in legislation my idea of an entrepreneur zone. And so the working group for the entrepreneur zone development and design, I hope that you'll either be an advisor or on the working group. I would love to have you on the working group because everything you just said is exactly why I came up with the concept.
Absolutely, and I did just get an invitation
when
I
wonderful.
got that. I said,
that's
this
perfect.
is Dale Caldwell written all over it.
Perfect, excellent. So that makes my day. And so we're on live TV. We're talking about this, but Jill, it's become a trend. And so Tulsa, Oklahoma, Philadelphia, 3 places in Atlanta, Fort Valley, Georgia, are all starting this entrepreneur zone. And we're in New Jersey, the first state to really do it. So you're going to hear more about it to build exactly what you just described. So we're really at the end of time, Jill. It's been good. Any final word for those family business leaders out there? One, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So through our website, we are IFEL.org. We AREIFEL.org. And something that we launched that I just want to mention called Small Businesses Need Us. That is an initiative, and you can also go to smallbusinessneedus.org. But it's an initiative that we launched to help the types of businesses that you're talking about and to support the types of businesses that are in entrepreneur zones.
Wonderful.
As we were discussing off camera, it is tough for so many of these small business owners to pivot right? And to move in a new direction after doing what they've been doing for a number of years. And so what we have done is to enlist the support of business professionals as volunteers, and we are activating them to work with, in a very hands-on sort of way, work with these small business owners to help them figure out how to pivot, how to get things back on track, how to survive and move on to thriving. So we look forward to working with you in your entrepreneur zones through that initiative.
Well, what you do is going to be key to everyone that we do in New Jersey. So Jill, I just want to thank you so much for your time this morning, and I want to thank the audience for watching Family Business World. I am looking forward to working so closely with you, but thank you for your time. And again, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you next week on Family Business World.